Hey there, Go community. Zack, CB, and I are back, and we are sharing our New Year's resolutions, both video game related and otherwise. In news, we're discussing the latest tease for the upcoming Batman game, as well as the lack of exclusive titles for the Xbox Series X. Also, Sony is again not making an appearance at E3 this year, so we'll definitely chat about that. And we wrap up talking about a ton of games, including Jamestown Plus, Vader Immortal Episode 3, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 Enhanced Editions, Orangeblood on PC, AO Tennis 2 on Xbox One, and finally, a little hack-and-slash game called Riverbond. This is the Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 277 of The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Monday, January 13th. I'm your host, Scott Clark. I'm joined, as always, by my fellow co-hosts. First off, a guy who has already probably purchased his tickets for Japan to go to Super Nintendo World, Mr. Zack Parkerson.
Super Nintendo World?
Oh, you haven't seen the trailer yet?
No, I guess not, man. Wow, I'm slacking.
There's a music video out there that was released probably like a half an hour ago, showcasing the theme park that's going to be opening just in time for the Olympics in Japan. That is all Super Nintendo themed, and yeah, that's pretty much all I need to know. But
that sounds pretty cool.
I know you're not the biggest Nintendo guy, but yeah, I want to go too. I want to go to Japan just for that.
It's not like I hate video games. Like I would want to go to a video game theme park thing.
Oh, it looks really cool. I can't wait till we get one here. It's going to make so much money. I'm actually legit shocked it's taken this long to get a Nintendo themed theme park.
Well, I mean, didn't Star Wars just get a first theme park like a couple years ago, right?
That's true. And they've been around for even longer. So anyway, Zack, it is good to talk to you again. Thanks for stopping by. Also joining us is a guy who is definitely thankful that his team won a World Series without resorting to cheating, Mr. Chris Behrensmeyer.
Oh, yeah.
How about the Astros?
Yeah, poor Houston. Wah, wah. Hey, it could have been worse. Pete Rose got a lifetime ban, so...
That's true. So, Zack, I assume you have no idea what we're talking about.
Nope.
But the Houston Astros just got busted for cheating. They were recording or had some kind of camera in the outfield that was reading the catcher's hand signals for what pitch was going to be in there, and then somehow signaling it to the batter, like in real time. And I guess the head coach and the general manager just got fired today. It's escalated rather quickly.
Why do that? Like you're not going to outsmart. You're not that clever.
Well, they won the World Series, so
you're saying presumably cheating.
I mean, if you know anything about baseball is all about pitching. I mean, it's
right. I've watched some baseball. I lived in Wrigleyville, man.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, if I'm not the world's expert when it comes to baseball, Chris would know far more than I would. But as the little bit that I've gotten into it, it is just a duel between the pitcher and the batter for the majority of the game, and knowing what's coming next is definitely gives you a leg up.
Right, but do they have proof that they used it during the series?
I don't know all the details. CB might know better than I do, but.
Well, due to the fact that just dropped not that long ago, I haven't had a chance to read it yet. But I do find it funny that majority of the newer stadiums have a Jumbotron, which is playing the game live, so the batter could just look up.
Interesting. I didn't think about that, and you could actually see the signals that way.
Yeah.
Speaking of fresh news, how about that Morbius trailer, huh?
I did not watch it yet. I saw it drop on my phone last night, and I forgot to watch it. What is it?
Skeptical?
It's another Spider-Man villain movie.
Oh, so Venom. Like a Venom or a Carnage?
But with clear ties to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Zack, you got a little bit of a smile on your face. Is this a good thing?
Well, I've always wanted them... I was one of those people that when Sony was talking about how the Amazing Spider-Man was going to build into this Spider-Man cinematic universe, where they're going to do a Black Cat movie and a Sinister Six movie, I was all aboard that train.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to connect these movies, then it's the only way you're going to get Spider-Man in this universe at this point, right? Is to deal with Marvel.
Yeah.
So if that's
yeah.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, I guess it's funny because most people are probably like, well, if the MCU needs Spider-Man, I guess we have to deal with this. I'm the other way. If I want these villains interacting with Spider-Man, so I'll deal with the fact that it's in the MCU.
Oh.
And you know what? Honestly, if this is like truly a part of the MCU now, it's only good because there's only one tone in the MCU. So it's nice that there will be movies within it that have a different tone.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the trailer, so the tone is not as tongue-in-cheek as Marvel is prone to be.
It looks like a Jared Leto drama.
It very much does. The only reason why I say it has ties to the MCU is when the trailer starts, it says in association with Marvel Pictures, but then there's also a villain from Spider-Man Homecoming that makes an appearance in the trailer.
Right. It also says from the studio that brought you Spider-Man Homecoming, Far From Home, and Venom.
So wait a minute. Jared Leto played a villain in the DC universe and is now playing a villain in the Marvel universe.
I mean, he'll probably be an anti-hero, right?
Yeah, it'll definitely come across. It'll be in the same thread as Venom, where towards the end of the movie, it's like, oh, look, he's an anti-hero.
Maybe. I mean, Morbius is a vampire, so maybe he can't control the urges. We'll see his slow descent into villainy. That'd be cool.
I'd be down. So.
I can see the twinkle in your eye as you say that, Zach. You're very excited about this.
Yeah, man. Give me every Spider-Man character movie. I don't care.
Hey,
even the one that made you wreck your foot.
Well, no, that. Come on now. I mean these expanded movies. Give me a Black Cat movie, Silver Sable movie. Give me that weird Aunt May movie they were talking about. I don't care.
Oh man,
Aunt May movie.
Bring it on.
Actually, I think this will be the first time that females and males will be excited about a vampire movie where the vampires don't sparkle.
But they sure did have a gratuitous male nudity shot.
Yeah.
So there's
in the trailer.
Of course, you got to have that Marvel branding, man.
Oh, all right.
Well, I mean, it's just his abs, it's not his penis.
Oh, okay. Well, that's where my mind went. I was like a little shocked that was in the trailer, but all right.
It is Jared Leto.
It's true. All right. Well, before we get too far deep in the rabbit hole of sports and comic books, let's talk about some video game news.
I guess we could.
Oh yeah, video games. We still do that on this show?
And we have yet another tease from WB, speaking of comic books, about a possible Batman game. If you remember, the teases have been happening for quite a few months now, starting well before E3. And keep in mind that one of their earlier teases hinted at the next game having something to do with Court of Owls. But the latest tease is a mysterious partial logo that doesn't mean anything to me, but I've also never read a Batman comic in my life. So I'm going to defer to Zack on this one, in this instance. Can you explain to me, maybe you have in the past and I apologize, but what is Court of Owls, and does this partial logo have anything to do with that?
The Court of Owls was Scott Snyder's first storyline on Batman when they rebooted the DC universe. It is one of my favorite Batman stories, if not my favorite. It is, these Court of Owls have been operating from the shadows since long before Batman showed up in Gotham. So the idea is that Batman thought, this city was his, that he was saving it and protecting it. But really, it was the Court of Owls. They were allowing him to operate, basically. And they've always been in control of Gotham. And so
is it a big secret as to who they actually are?
Yeah, they all wear these creepy owl masks, so you don't really ever see any of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically like these rich people. But then, they have these they also have this ridiculous army of elite ninjas called Talons, and you see them, and Nightwing's grandpa is one of them.
Okay,
that's less interesting to me.
So, what about the logo? Does that scream anything Court of Owls in that logo you saw?
Yeah, of course. I mean, this one less so. This one actually kind of made me think of Argus. I don't know if you agree, CB, because it's a little bit more. I felt almost militaristic.
It does, but at the same time, to me, it does feel very Court of Owls-esque.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if so, take that symbol and imagine it as like stained glass.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, it seems like a foregone conclusion. This is a Court of Owls game.
yeah.
I just wonder if, because I don't mean to cut you off, but in Arkham Origins, after the credits, there was a teaser for Suicide Squad entering the Arkham universe. So if this was the Arkham symbol and you bring in the Suicide Squad that way, you live up to that teaser from Origins.
Why not both?
Yeah, why not both? It's a video game. It can be that long.
Yeah.
Totally could. Totally could.
To make it really simple, Scott, the Court of Owls is basically the Illuminati in Arkham form.
But creepy, and there's this awesome issue where they trap Batman in a labyrinth and make him crazy, and you have to, when you're reading the comic book, you have to turn it like upside down and sideways to read it because Batman's going insane, so you have to read it like an insane person.
Was it one of the panels like you actually had to hold it to a mirror? Because it was printed backwards.
It's a really good issue.
Wow. Sounds intense. I mean, it's inevitable. We're getting a Batman game, but why are they... they're teasing it for so long. It feels like this has been a really stretched thin tease at this point. Just announce it, right?
Well, if they're going as big and grand scope as they probably are, it's going to take a lot of work to put into this, especially because if you look at some of those symbols, they have like the Gotham City Police Department and other things hidden in it. So my guess is there's also going to be tiebacks to the other Arkham games with possible flashbacks of replaying certain scenarios with something slightly changed.
Interesting.
I hadn't considered that, CB, because in my mind, I want this to just be its own. I don't want it to be tied into the Arkham games. I want it to obviously be the start of a new shared DC video game universe.
You just want to be right next to
that would be terrific. But no, you make a good point because those flashbacks would be cool if you see them from like the Arkham
Talon's point of view,
or like the Arkham Asylum breakout, and Arkham Asylum was like the Court of Owls kind of helped that happen or something like that. That would be cool.
I mean, I could see what was it? The end of Arkham Asylum, like when everything breaks out, or was it Arkham Asylum? Like the one where all the villains break out. Like, I'm drawing a blank here, but can you just imagine though? Like you see from Batman's eyes, like he's chasing like somebody, like just any one of them. But
Firefly.
Yeah, sure, Firefly. And he's chasing him, but all of a sudden it kind of stops and then shifts the angle. So you're seeing it through Talon's eyes, like up on a rooftop over here.
Yeah, now we're backseat game developing.
Yeah.
You guys do that a lot.
That's not true.
Well, I vaguely remember Zach and I talking about this, almost 2 years ago, where we're like, I think it's time for a Batman game where they include the Court of Owls.
They've been teasing it that long too.
It's
ridiculous. Like, yeah, I mean, there's nothing when they actually announce it. Everyone will explode. But it does feel a little like, okay, you're teasing a game we have all already deduced. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
You're not doing anything other than annoying people, honestly.
That's what it feels like. But yeah, I'm actually ready for one too. Believe it or not, over Christmas, I popped in Arkham Asylum. What's it called? The remastered one that's on Xbox One.
Return to Arkham.
Return to Arkham. That game still holds up, guys.
Yeah,
I know you're big on Arkham City, but I haven't got that far yet. But I love the delivery. I love the presentation of that game, and it's fun. And it never feels, you don't get stuck. You just are constantly moving forward, and it just feels awesome. And stringing up those guys and hunting them down just never gets old for some reason. I don't know why. And the combat, it's like a rhythm game instead of a combat game.
Oh my God, Zach! I actually just thought about this. What if they go Batman Beyond style?
Oh,
no. But not Batman Beyond, but the Dark Knight Returns. So a certain character from the end of the last Arkham game, like if you finished everything, you get the whole spoiler.
Right.
That character dies. Bruce has to return.
Sure, that'd be cool. And then Man, there was all that leaks from that canceled Arkham game where it was supposed to be Damian Wayne. That you could incorporate
I'd be
elements
down
of
for
that.
Damian.
Yeah, you could do Damian Batman, and maybe Bruce comes back, and all that. I'm sure it'll be a ridiculous 80-hour game because, God forbid, you make a reasonable length game anymore. But
Well, if you want to include the Court of Owls and Suicide Squad, it's going to have to be long.
yeah,
Well, you don't have to include every detail from the comics. I mean,
and then
Right.
Superman shows up.
why not throw the
Ugh.
Killing Joke in there at the same time? Just do all three.
Yeah, they already did that at night.
Yeah, but I don't feel that would translate very well to a video game.
No?
No.
They did a little bit of it in Arkham Knight.
They did a little bit of it, but I'm saying like
Yeah.
a full arc of it.
Well, I mean,
No.
there's not even enough meat there for a full length movie, let alone
I'll agree there.
a game.
So,
Well, I want to move on and talk a little bit about the Xbox Series X because it was announced this week that the console will not have exclusive games for at least a year after its initial release. This means that the games on the new hardware will also be available on Xbox One and PC. Now, obviously, performance will be better on the Series X, but you won't have to buy the new console to play the new games. Does this make you think twice about purchasing the Series X at launch?
nope, not at all.
Yeah?
I'm still buying it. I actually went out and I may or may not own a third Xbox right now. So,
Why?
dude, the payment plan made it worth it. I just have to turn it
Oh,
in.
you did that route. Okay.
Yep. So I'm doing that, but at the same time, the fact that it's going to have exclusive titles at launch, it'll just
It's
be
not.
No. It says that there will not be exclusive games for at least a year after its initial launch.
Right.
Read that
So that
article
means there's
carefully. There will be exclusive titles at launch. There won't be for a year after launch.
I must have misread that completely. I was under the understanding that there was not going to be any exclusives at launch. There will be exclusive ones just for Xbox Series X after the year or two.
So the way I read it in the article is there's going to be some that will be played on both the Xbox One X and the Series X. However, if you read between the lines on this article, it clearly states that there will not be any exclusive games for a year after initial release. So my guess is they're probably going to have 2, maybe 3 that are initial at launch, and then they said that they want to take some time and develop some IPs later on.
How are you reading that? What you just read me sounds like no exclusive launch.
He's doing
exclusive games.
He's doing a tinfoil hat reading, like reading in between the lines, being careful on their wording, kind of thing. You're taking them at face value.
Okay.
So I highly doubt that they will not have any exclusive titles at launch.
Even if they don't, who cares? You should support this pro-consumer move. Vote with your wallet. If you want to be treated well, treat them well in return.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's not going to keep me from buying one. You know that. I got a 4K TV that I want to push to its max.
Brings up this 4K TV every week.
Yeah.
I'm braggalicious, man.
So
I'm more braggadocious about that because the fact that I was able to convince my wife to let me buy it more than I am to actually that I have it. Like that was a tall order, man.
You know what? FF15 looks great on that thing. Just so you know.
So,
but yeah, it's an interesting move for sure. It is very pro-consumer because they're going to have all these games out there, and you're not going to have to buy the new console. If I'm reading this at face value and not reading between the lines, then people could just hang out of their Xbox Ones and Xbox One X's or S's or whichever ones you've got, and still play Halo Infinite and whatever, and not have to buy the new hardware. But for those of us that are junkies and have to have the newest, latest, best, we could still get it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, though I do say I have 3, like my Gears one will be retired to the collection, not to be played anymore. It looks pretty on the shelf right next to my 360 one. My digital one will actually be the one that's returned, and then my other one will actually be my son's console, so we can play games together. So
there you go. So you basically bought one to fill a space in your collection with the Gears one. is how you're selling me on that.
Yeah. It looks so good, man.
How do you sell your wife on that? Honey, I know we got 2 Xboxes already, but I'm going to go ahead and buy a third one.
I don't think he has to run it past her.
No.
You know?
It really wasn't an argument like it was in your house when I bought my 4K TV.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, let's go get it.
Well, see, the difference is that your 4K TV is in your living room where she will also enjoy it. My 4K TV is in my basement where my wife refuses to visit because it's too cold down here.
Yeah.
That sounds nice for you, though.
So
I have no idea what you're talking about.
But no, I actually told her, like, hey, look, it's a payment plan. So it's instead of being like smashing my bank account for $700 at once when I buy the new one, it's just spread out over time. And the inclusion of Game Pass Ultimate and Xbox Live just sweeten the deal.
Right.
Man, Game Pass is so good.
It is. It really is.
Oh, hey, for the record, I subscribe to PS Now, guys.
You told us last week.
Well, yeah. I did the trial last week. I'm subscribed now. That's a good service.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're officially in.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
It's worth.
All right, and then last story that actually just dropped, I don't know, like a couple hours ago. I think we kind of saw this coming, but Sony will officially not be attending E3 2020 this year. Keep in mind, this is during the year of a brand new console launch, and Sony has decided, no, we're not going to go. I am a little shocked by this news. I really was expecting them to go this year. What do you guys think?
I actually wrote this down the moment you shared this article, and to me, this is a big, like, F-U finger to the face.
Of the ESA?
Well,
good. They leaked my info, so screw them.
Well, not just the ESA, but to fans. Like, biggest gaming thing of the year, and no, we're not going to show up just because we feel that we want to go a different route.
I think it's kind of proof that it's no longer the biggest gaming thing of the year.
Well,
because if it was, they would go. If they have a direct line to the consumer now, you know? I mean, as much as it sucks because I love E3 and I love going there, it's just not necessary. And the ESA seems to be, going down kicking and screaming and kind of making everybody upset along the way.
Yeah, us too. But
yeah.
And I don't know what it means, but Jason Schreier said something today on Twitter to the effect of that the reason, or that he's heard that the reason they're not going not only this year, but also why they didn't go last year was because of the ESA and some broiling tensions between Sony and the ESA. Don't know what that means exactly, but that's really interesting to me and really makes me wonder about the future of E3. And I think Sony said in the article too that they're planning on doing smaller shows and doing their own live streaming type of stuff, which, to be honest, do you need to do E3 to get noticed? I mean, I'm genuinely asking. I'm not saying it's not the case, but do you need to?
Okay.
In today's day and age.
Being not a huge Sony fan. Like, I'm not on the Sony bandwagon. Like, I support their products, but I don't go out of my way. For me, things like E3 or Tokyo Game Show, like those big ones, those are the ones that I watch if I want to get interested in a product that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go turn on YouTube, go to Sony's channel, and watch this. I like the shows where everything is put together, where I have Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, like everybody. I like having them there for those. So,
and you're on a gaming podcast.
Yeah. So when you have somebody that pulls out just because they're kind of being bitter about some things, which understandably so, I can't fault Sony for that. So if you want me to spend close to $1,000, including console, games, accessories, on something in your launch window, especially in a year when you have another console from Microsoft coming that is also vying for me to spend my dollars, I would want to see you go head to head at them at one of these shows to show, like, this is why you should buy this. This is why you should buy that. So when you're pulling out and being like, oh no, if you are interested in our product, come watch our stream only, where we're only going to talk about us.
You mean like what Nintendo does?
They do. And look how long it took me to buy a Switch. I didn't buy one at launch. It was like 6 months down the road.
Yeah.
So
I guess I just don't see the difference if you're at home from watching a Sony stream June 14th rather than on June 6th. I just don't get what that changes.
Because I'm going to be tuned into like E3 show or any of the other ones. I'm not going to sit here and stop my stream of E3 when there's other things going on, so I can go like, oh, let me hunt down Sony's show.
Right, but if they're smart, they will just sit out. They'll just wait until next month and do their own thing. Yeah, and then they'll have everybody's eyes.
And again, when I have that window where it's like, I took time off of work, like this year, last year, the year before, to focus on E3 because I want to see like all the things. I like having that window where it's like, look, everything's being presented to you. This is what we want you to spend your dollars on this year. And
so you want the apples to oranges comparison, the side by side.
I do
in one show.
I loved that about E3 in the past when like Sega and Nintendo would be like, all right, let's go head to head. Here's why you should buy ours. Here's why you should buy theirs. Or like, I liked that. It always felt like a good competition. Whereas now when you have one player basically going, yeah, we're going to do our own thing. Cool. You do your own thing. I'm going to go and play in the sandbox with everybody else.
Yeah, but it's two big juggernauts saying we're going to do our own thing. I mean, I'm not to beat a dead horse here, but Nintendo has been doing it as well. And I know that you didn't buy a Switch, but a lot of people did.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I own a Switch. I support it. I like playing it, but I like when everybody's on the same page and plays together.
Wasn't Xbox also technically, they're off campus, right? Aren't they technically not at E3?
Yeah, they have their own little thing in the Microsoft's, I can't remember what that building is called.
The Microsoft Theater, right?
Microsoft Theater, thank you. So technically there's, Nintendo did have a presence last year, if you remember.
Oh yeah, they were on the show
Mansion
floor.
3.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So there's no Microsoft, there's no Sony. Nintendo will probably, I have to guess that Nintendo will have a presence there.
Right. No,
on the show floor.
No EA.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's another good point too. EA is another big one that's not going to be there. I think that it's starting this deal that, well, again, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors with the ESA. What is angering Sony, if anything? I mean,
I think they keep backing bills that major companies do not agree with.
Oh, is that what it is? It's political?
Well, it's politics that interrupts with them. Like when they were doing with a digital copyright act or whatever that everyone got all up in arms about, where the whole internet, like Google went black for the day or whatever. But the ESA was trying to vote in favor of that, and all the major companies were like, no. But they pay dues to the ESA to represent them legally, to be a lobbying body, and when they're not lobbying the interests of the companies, that's going to create some tension.
Well, here's the biggest thing then.
Point.
Why don't all these big companies be like, hey, we're all doing our own shows, let's start a new one?
E4?
No, come up with something different. Like,
I was being funny, man.
Oh, I know, but like Microsoft has come out and said that they don't like some of the things that the ESA is doing, and they don't like some of the things that is going on at E3. Sony has said this. EA has said this. Hey guys, you're big corporations that you like, hey, you want to go head to head with us? Let's make a new show and do that.
So you think Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo were going to all band together to make their own trade show?
Hey, they were on the Game Awards stage together.
That's a start.
It is something, and if they all want to sit here and be like, hey, we're all doing like cross-play stuff now, like clearly Microsoft and Nintendo would be like, sure, we'll do it.
Well, yeah.
I do love your vision of the future, though.
Yes, so do I.
That's very nice.
Hey, I try to be positive about a lot of things.
Look,
I work at a job that is very negative, so gaming is positive for me.
If anyone could do it, it's Phil Spencer. I agree. I think everyone just wants to hug that guy. He seems great.
Yeah, I think it's a little Pollyanna though, because there's no way in hell it's going to happen. Because who's going to run it? You're gonna like three-way tie. Sure, let's have Jeff Keighley run it. Well, he's not busy. Right.
Take 3 people from each one of the big corporations and be like, let's make a board. Let's make our own thing.
That'll never work.
It would never work. I can't even imagine that. I mean,
I think you're right. They could, like, in your fantasy land, that you could come up with a new lobbying body and just, place in people you actually care about. Like, get some retired ex-dev, get Reggie Fils-Aimé in there, something like that. But
I mean,
I just don't think it's gonna. I think it's past that time, man. Look, I loved E3 too. I don't want to see it go, and I love growing up, and that was so great. I just don't think the time has passed, and you have to let things go.
Well, I understand. I'm just saying that there are still other shows out there where they all 3 show up at.
Right, like Gamescom or
PAX, even if you want to talk stateside.
So, I mean, there are other options out there. So,
and I think that's what Sony's point was, is that just because we're not going to E3 doesn't mean we're not making a presence in other places.
Right.
E3 is the most recognizable one for people here in the States, I would argue. It's got the name recognition behind it. And like you said, people want to go there for like a one-stop shop thing. But I also think that nerds like us that are consuming these products are going to find that information. We all know how technology works. I don't understand your rationale of I'm not going to look up a YouTube video. I am 100% going to look up a YouTube video to see what Sony is doing for the PS5. I mean, there's no way that's not going to happen. Even though I'm not even a Sony guy. I mean, I play Sony products, I support them, like you said.
I mean,
but I'm still going to hunt down a video and watch it.
I have 154 PS4 games. And so I'm
bragging.
I'm just saying I'm still trying to support each one of these companies. You have to remember, you and I are old enough that we saw Sega come and go. I loved Sega. I don't want to see any one of these big companies fail or any new game company fail. I want all game companies to succeed. It's just when you have all these people that are still like, hey, we're still on board. We're still trying to be a team here. Like we're here for the gaming community. And then you have one guy standing in the corner like, I'm bitter.
I don't think there's any risk of any of these 3 companies going away like Sega did. I think the worry here is that E3 is going to go away.
Well, that's why I said, come up with something new. I just like having that like gaming week.
Yeah, I agree. I also don't think it comes from a perspective of bitterness. I think it just comes from business sense. Like you don't need E3. You could do your own PlayStation experience, and you go straight to your fans, and then you want to go after the hardcore, and then they're your evangelists. They spread the word.
Especially think of the budget that they spend on doing those stage presentations and shows and getting the talent and all that. Imagine they dump that budget or even a fraction of that budget into something that's streamed or whatever, and it could be even better. I mean, it could or dump that into R&D for other games and development.
Like the one guy playing a weird Japanese musical flute standing on the stage by himself.
You want to know how much that dude probably makes?
Probably.
Not letting it go, are you?
Nope, not at all. Still bitter.
For the record, Scott, any money they save is definitely going to go to a bonus check for the executives.
You're probably right. However, I don't know. I don't. Like I said, I don't see any of those 3 going away. I don't see them. I mean, Nintendo for sure is not going anywhere. I mean, they've got so much money.
Man, every Sony fanboy out there during this generation was like, oh, this is it. This is the end of Microsoft. They're going to die.
Well, you're also talking about people that like legitimately want that to happen. I don't think anybody here at this table wants that to happen.
Can't we all just get along?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I got to be honest. At the beginning of this console generation, I was also rooting against Xbox because they were being a bunch of jerks, I guess, is a soft way to say it.
We have an offline console.
Yeah.
That conversation.
They needed some humbling badly.
They did. But
they did.
As we creep to this new generation, I just like seeing how far your pendulum is swinging back.
The Xbox, absolutely, yeah. Well, guess what? Now, who needs to get a gut check in terms of being jerks? PlayStation.
But again, I don't think in this situation Sony are being jerks.
No,
I think there's a lot that we don't know. I know, CB, you're kind of given this vision of them like sitting in the corner because they're mad. I think this is a business decision more than it is a bitter Betty.
I said in the very beginning, I can't fault Sony because I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But as being somebody who would be potentially buying your product, when you don't come out and say like, this is why we're doing this, and this is why we aren't participating, and giving me a blanket statement when you're like, we're just thinking in a different direction. That feels like one of those crappy breakup lines that you get in high school.
It's not you, it's me.
Exactly. Like, to me, that's just a slap in the face as somebody that you'd want me buying your console.
Like, I just don't feel that way. I don't even get that.
I do. I'm just saying I do. That's how I feel.
Well,
it's how I feel.
We do moderately respect your decision to feel that way.
Yep.
Moderately. All right. Well, that was actually a really fun news little reel there. Let's go ahead and move on. CB, what's going on with Patreon?
Stuff and things.
Yeah, that's right. Stuff.
You got quite a schedule on the horizon. You shared it with the team earlier this week.
Yes, I currently have 8 to 10 episodes planned over the next 3 months. Mm-hmm. So we are looking to do TV shows, not just TV game shows, for this month. Three of the games that we'll be looking at. So I'll give you a little teaser here on the first episode. We will be playing American Gladiators on NES. Gilligan's.
Just stop right there. Don't have to go any further.
Oh, well, they already heard part of the second game, Gilligan's Island.
You love to spoil stuff.
And I won't give the third.
Okay. All right.
So we got that. We have quite a few other things. Some of the team even threw some ideas at me, like a possible Simpsons game episode. So I've
never played through that game.
Well, not just that game, but like other games in the Simpsons universe, like
Hit and Run,
Virtual Bart.
Isn't a Virtual Bart game?
It was on Super Nintendo, so it's not exactly virtual reality. It's Bart in virtual reality. So,
isn't Simpsons Hit and Run the gold standard Simpson game, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, people love that one.
So, if you like Crazy Taxi,
are you going to do it in your TV games episode? Is the third one Lost via Domus?
No.
Darn.
I did not like that
Darn
game.
it.
Never again.
But it was an easy 1,000 achievement points.
Maybe for you, my game glitched out.
They also
I refused to put that game back in my console.
I thought that game was okay. I felt robbed because they sold it as canonical and then never addressed it in the show.
Yeah. So there's that. We have our entire back catalog of things. I know December was light, so I'm trying to make it up to all you guys. So, yeah, we've got quite a bit in the works, and who knows? There could be a Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order spoiler cast coming too.
That needs to happen. We need to do the Glee episode. Like, we need to stop talking about it and do it. Like, this week.
That's my tease. That's my permanent tease.
Could you imagine, Scott, if you hadn't said anything about it?
You know what? You keep bringing it up, Scott. I'm gonna make you sing in that episode.
That'd be cool.
I just karaoke'd on Saturday. I'll sing all you want, man.
It'll be Scotty Doesn't Know all over again.
Fiona and me doing my every Sunday. That's a great song, man. An all-time classic.
It is a great song.
It is.
And it was in that movie when it was Matt Damon. It was just like, what?
What a cameo.
It was a great cameo. So anyway, if you would like to help support the Gaming Outsider or check out any of that content that CB talked about, be sure to head over to patreon.com/thegocast. It really does help us do things for the community as well as pay for the show. Because believe it or not, it does cost money to do this thing. So really appreciate all the help from everybody. And with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into our From the Outside In topic.
So don't tell Scotty!
For this week's From the Outside In topic, we decided to talk about New Year's resolutions and what goals we've made for ourselves as we start 2020, as well as a brand new decade of gaming. So before we get into the games, I know this is weird, has nothing to do with video games, but outside of gaming, have you guys made any personal New Year's resolutions this year?
Yeah, I've got a couple, actually. First and foremost, I'm going to lose 65 pounds by the end of the year.
Nice.
So
doing keto?
Doing keto the right way.
Okay.
So I'm also going to try and learn a new language this year.
Oh, anyone in particular?
I don't know yet. I'm still kind of on the fence. I would actually really like to not only learn a new language, but brush up on my French. So
okay.
So yeah, that's kind of my goal this year. So
I would love to learn another language, but it would make more sense for me to learn Spanish. It would kind of expand my horizons a little bit as a teacher. But Japanese would be like the dream
Mandarin
language to learn.
Most widely spoken language in the world.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But Japanese just sounds so cool.
Learn binary.
I don't have a clue. 65 pounds though. Good for you.
40, wait, didn't you say 45?
60.
45 or 60?
60. Oh, my
60.
mistake.
We were both wrong.
6'5".
It is 65. I was right. Well, good luck on you, man. If I lost 65 pounds, I might have to go to the hospital. I think that might be too much for me.
Was it a humble brag?
No, not at all. I'm definitely overweight. I'm just saying that I wouldn't know. I don't know where you get 65 pounds off of me.
Your leg?
Your head?
A leg?
Maybe?
Just one of my legs.
I mean, I got a bandsaw in the garage. We can do this real quick.
Find out, throw it on the saw or throw it on the scale, see how much it weighs, and then just reattach it.
I'm sure there's somebody out there that can do it.
What about you, Zach?
Oh man, well, all of my New Year's resolutions are always geeky. Every year I do a geek New Year's resolution. Like in 2019, it was go to the comic shop at least once a week. That was my New Year's resolution.
Did you keep it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. Probably too well, I would say.
So are the comic books like, when you go there, are they actually like they are in Big Bang Theory?
I had no idea, Scott. I have not seen the Big Bang Theory.
Yes. Depending on the comic shop you go to, Scott, yes, it is exactly like that.
Okay. Don't make fun of me for Big Bang Theory. That show's
I'm not.
funny.
Hey, that show had one joke I laughed at.
Well, what was it?
It was like Halloween. They all dressed up like the Flash accidentally. So their costume was them all like looking like they were running in a line together.
Mm-hmm.
So it was as if the Flash was blurring. That was funny.
That show's really funny to me. So what's your one for this year then?
Read. Yeah. Try to read. Well, okay. Read all of Jeff Johns' DC superhero stories.
How many books is that?
A lot. He is probably one of the most prolific writers I've ever had.
Yeah. That's a tall order.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I might rescind that. I want to read all of Jeff Johns' Flash run. There you go. That's still like 100 comics, so...
Actually, no. How about the Flash and one other character?
Okay, Flash and JSA. You had a big run there. Yeah.
There. So at least it's not insurmountable.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be a task.
Not too easy. Yeah. There we go. Thanks, CB.
You're welcome, friend.
So we're gonna check up on you next year and see if you've kept up with that.
Oh, I'm actually writing these down.
Oh, are you?
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Love it.
Ah. So to come back to this would be like an annual thing. We come back and see if we kept our regular New Year's resolutions and our gaming resolutions.
Yep.
Well, mine's not nearly as specific as you guys are. I just basically started eating better and going back to the gym. I don't have, that's not true. I do have a weight in mind that I would like to hit, which is probably about 20 pounds from where I'm at now, but I'm not really, I'm trying not to focus on that. I'm focusing on just creating a better, healthy lifestyle. I've been eating a lot of chicken, a lot of spinach, green beans, fruits, not a lot of soda. It's hard, man.
Oh,
no candy.
Soda? I love soda.
I do too.
Okay.
Or pop. I guess I'm in Illinois. You should call it pop.
You don't have to.
I will help you modify yours a little bit.
Okay.
So you said you had a certain like weight in mind.
Yeah.
What if instead of just doing weight, doing body fat percentage?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to measure my body fat. You get one of those pincher things. Is that what you do? Or do I just get on my electronic scale that actually like runs electricity through your feet and measures that or whatever?
Well, I mean,
you get your
you can use that as a baseline.
Get your
because I'm also trying
board.
to. There you go. Actually, true story. I should bring this up because this actually happened a few hours ago. I am going to be the proud owner of a Ring Fit adventure in the next week or so.
Nice.
Remember, I've been talking about that. So Bill Gardner from our community hit me up today and said that he is looking to sell off all of his Switch stuff and wanted to know if I wanted the Ring Fit adventure. So I PayPal'd him some money and he's shipping it over.
Wow.
So I've got that as well as a couple of new Joy-Cons.
One of those found its way into my household as well, and it looks.
Oh, you do have one?
Yeah. Well, I have not used it at all, but it looks like a hell of a lot of fun. It actually it's like an RPG.
I know. It looks like fun.
Yeah, it looks genuinely like a lot of fun.
Man, you guys are gonna make me go out and buy one now.
Just play mine, man. Don't drop the money until you've played it.
He can get a Ring Fit. We can all Ring Fit together, and we can check in every week. Like
I see.
I hit level 15, man.
Keep each other accountable.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
We're all doing it. Well, but see, I'm also running. I'm also lifting weights. I'm also playing pistol whip as long as CB will let me hang on to his Oculus.
Not much longer.
New Year's resolution for CB: get his quests back.
Yeah, you got to find it.
Your house ain't that big, man.
I think he just stole it. I think that's what he just did.
Man, I am having so much fun with it. It's really getting difficult.
Maybe you can have a conversation with your wife and convince her to spend some dollars again.
Yeah. I could just sell that stack of NES games I added to my collection that would have bought me an Oculus Quest if I had spent it on that instead. I got to do some more DJing. Anyway, I guess if I were going to give it a quantifiable way, I really want to get to the gym at least 4 days a week. I'd like to do that for the whole year. I don't know how possible that is because it gets really tough. It is a lifestyle change, guys. It is, packing your gym bag the night before and setting your clothes out and, getting up early to make breakfast. That's the thing with food is like, I don't have a problem eating healthy food. I have a problem with the convenience factor.
Yes.
It is so much easier for me just to go through the drive-thru somewhere and get something to eat than it is to,
try working on an ambulance.
It's more time for gaming.
So
that's true.
All right.
But I'm seriously like on Sundays, like cooking 5 pounds of chicken breasts in the oven and then putting them in little containers so that I have them for lunch for the rest of the week. Like I'm going all out on this thing. It's nuts.
All right. Here's another one, Scott, for you. It's not insurmountable.
Okay.
I'd like to see you do a 10K by the end of the year.
Oh, I could do a 10K tomorrow.
Fine. Marathon.
No, I'm not doing a full. Maybe a half. I could do a half marathon by the end of the year.
Hey, you know what? No, I want to see you do an actual marathon because then it's a challenge. 10K? I mean, come on. What? That's like a little more than a third?
The thing with running a marathon is like it's not even so much what it does to your body, or I've only done a half marathon. It's not so much what it does to your body. I can handle that. The issue for me is the time commitment that it takes to train. Because if you're training for a full marathon, you're just taking on a Saturday and running 22 miles to prepare for the 26.2 miles that it takes to run. Do you know how long it takes to run? And that is a long time commitment, especially if you got to do it consistently multiple times throughout the week to do that long run. That is just way too much time exercising.
Come on, Barney, you can do it.
Barney?
How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, yeah. Where he just wakes up and runs a marathon.
My legs don't work.
And then he gets stuck on the subway because his legs stopped working after he sat down. That's pretty good.
Actually, Zach, if you'd be in on this, would you come up here and watch Scott run a marathon?
I mean, yeah, I would love to. I'm trying to get my driving situation sorted here shortly. Then I'll do all kinds of adventures.
Ooh,
adventure
challenge. All right,
I don't want to run a full marathon, man.
Fine, half marathon.
So you're gonna really challenge me and call me out, and I got to do a half marathon by the end of the year.
You do a half marathon. I've never run anything in my life.
Okay.
I will attempt to do a 10K by the end of the year if you do a half marathon.
All right. I'll see what I can do. My wife will be thrilled if she knows that I'm going to train for a half marathon.
Then you could be like, look, now I can spend some money on a quest.
She did a half marathon.
If he does a full marathon, buy him a quest.
Ooh.
I did buy him a PSVR.
Yes.
So if you do a full marathon by the end of the year and CB's willing, I'll go half in and get you a quest.
Deal.
Oh,
deal.
My God.
There you go.
The gauntlet has been thrown.
Sealed and delivered. Sealed, signed, delivered, baby.
I'm gonna write it up right now, and Zach and I will both sign it.
There you go.
Oh my God, that is so hard, guys. That is so hard.
Well, now you have a nice little treat at the end.
Yeah, if I can do it. Holy cow, that is.
Are you kidding me?
That is
I'm gonna
one
sit
hell
there
of a
on
challenge.
I'm gonna sit there on like a little moped with the quest in front of him like a carrot.
Yeah, I do love that you're on a moped though. I'll get like one of those. I'll be on one of those carts they have at Walmart where you just sit down and drive around on it.
You know what? Let's actually throw the gauntlet down to the gaming community while we're at it. If Scott runs a marathon, I want to see people from the community donate money, and we will donate it to a charity of the community's choice.
Okay, I was going to say I thought you were going to say donate to like purchase games for it or something. Like no, do not throw any. Yeah.
If Scott runs a marathon,
big if, so we know,
I'm challenging the Go community to help us raise money to donate to a charity of the community's choice.
I think I'm watching Scott's life change before his eyes right now.
A marathon is so long.
Hey, you don't have to do it. We're just giving you incentives to do it.
Yeah.
All right. I have a lot of thinking to do. That's for sure.
And think about the evening your wife would give you, huh?
I won't be able to feel anything after running 26.2 miles. I would sleep so hard. I went with my wife. My wife actually ran a full marathon in Chicago, which, by the way, I don't recommend because the last thing you want to be smelling when you're running for 26.2 straight miles is what Chicago smells like.
Sewage, high sewage.
Oh man, she said she almost threw up a couple times for that very reason. But anyway, let's actually get on to the goals that have to do with video games. What would you like to see yourself do in 2020? Zach, let's start with you.
Oh man, I got a couple. I didn't know how broad to get here, so I just thought of one. I want to play DC Universe up until at least the Green Lantern content. I have tried to start this game, I don't know, 3 times a year ever since it came out, and I just cannot. I cannot commit because MMO combat is, I guess, miserable. It's terrible.
You like to click
and watch, man. It's not a good time. So one of my resolutions is catch up on that game.
Okay.
And then I want to catch up to the current content of Warframe, which seems like a huge leap right now. And then finally, I want to actually use my Switch by beating at least one game on Switch a month.
Say that again. One Switch game a month?
Beating one game on Switch a month. Because I have a Nintendo Switch, and I have not... Man. I don't think I've beaten a game on my Switch since Bayonetta 2.
You know what might sway your mind about a Switch? And I know this is going to sound crazy. Get a Switch Lite.
Yeah.
I got one of those, and I have played my Switch more since Christmas, or since whenever I got that. Shout out to the EXP cast. I won that at their Extra Life thing. I've played that more since then than I've played my regular Switch altogether. I don't know what it is about that thing. It is so much more comfortable. I just like it a lot better.
All right, if I run a marathon, will you buy me a Switch Lite?
If you run a marathon?
Yeah.
Sure. If you run a full marathon, I will definitely buy you a Switch Lite.
Sweet.
I will go halvesies on that as well.
Sweet. Yeah, but no, I keep looking at my Switch. I keep buying games on the Switch, and then I'm like, oh man, this is great. Like it was a King of Cards. Loved what I played of it. Have not touched it since I played that first session. And
you got to play that whole treasure trove, man. That whole thing is great.
There's 4 months right there.
No, that's one game, dude.
Yeah, you're out of your mind.
I'm not gonna. I hate to pull a what's his name from Lord of the Rings, but it still only counts as one.
No way. Those are each content rich and hours long. They're each.
That is a third of your year all on Shovel Knight games.
Perfect. This should be an easy resolution to achieve. Hey, you reviewed them as separate games, didn't you?
That's true. That's fair. I can't argue with that.
And I bet if you were to ask Yacht Club Games, they would be like, "Oh no, they were definitely different games."
They probably would.
some low hanging fruit there.
I don't know, man. My Switch mostly just collects dust right now. And it's like games.
I think we should quantify it. Like it should be like first party Nintendo games.
No, because there are games like Katana Zero I want to play through. But that's not a first party game.
Man, that game was just on sale too. You missed it. That was a great game.
That's a shame. Fine if you want. I mean, I'll do it. It's fine. And then I really want to play that Pokemon game. It looked great, and I just didn't. There's something about the Switch, man.
I hear you. Any others?
No, I think 3's enough. I got a couple from the community if you want to hear those.
I do want to hear the ones from the community.
All right. Conigford11 says, my 2020 gaming resolution is to actually ignore my backlog for a change and enjoy new releases as they come. And along some similar lines, Jeremy at Jer45 said, my goal is to not have a goal, to enjoy what I play and take my time. Rushing just makes it more like work for me. Man, these are very free-spirited individuals.
Yeah, but I like it. I like it because I'll be the first to admit, I played a bunch of games this year that I did not enjoy. And I pushed myself to get through just because I felt like I had to. And
there is something to be said for just not lying to yourself that you're going to get to your backlog, even though you know you never will.
Oh, yeah. I don't even bother like making a list.
My room is my list.
That's true.
I was going to say, I do keep a list of the games that I own and haven't played yet.
Well, yeah, but when you get into digital, man, if you saw the number of digital games in my library, it's staggering. There's a number of games in there I've never even booted up, much less played like 10 minutes of. It's especially the sales, man. I'm a sucker.
Yeah, the sales and the free games they give you every month.
Yep, they just start adding up and adding up. It's kind of crazy.
And then all of a sudden you try to buy a game on a sale and you're like, no, you own this already.
I haven't had that happen yet.
I think it was more or less when we combined libraries, and all of a sudden Scott's like, oh my God, look at all these bad games.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
And then Thomas Beck said, the exact opposite, trying to tackle my backlog and do more reviews than I did last year. I hope it will be just a stellar year as it was the last 2 years. I agree with Thomas. I want to do more reviews this year. I can't. Scott took the lead this year by a wide margin. I cannot abide that again.
How many you got right now?
Reviews?
Yeah.
0.
Hey, so do I.
Perfect.
So we're tied.
Me too, so.
That's what I like, guys. 0 reviews. Perfect.
Great month, for sure. All right, CB, what about you, man?
Oh, man, where do I start?
Oh, my God. You're going to have a list of resolutions.
I have like 3, maybe 4.
Write them down.
I did write them down. First off, I'm going to play to completion at least 4 PS4 games this year.
Hey, that's kind of like my Switch one.
It is. So
less ambitious, I would say.
Except it's 4, not 12.
Yeah.
Well, the first one is going to be Days Gone, so
that's a big one.
Oh, that'll take a while.
That's a time sink. So there's that.
So kind of the Shovel Knight game separately. Continue.
Most people already know I'm going to try and finish 2 of my game collections this year.
GameCube.
GameCube is number 1, and I think I'm just gonna bite the bullet and finish Virtual Boy, even though that does feel like low hanging fruit.
That's one game.
That's an expensive game, son.
I know.
So there's that. I may sprinkle in a couple other small ones here and there. So there's that. I also would like to write more reviews this year, and preferably not Tour de France 2019.
I saw that it was on sale on Xbox Live today for $19.99.
So did I, and I actually immediately turned off my Xbox. So, so there's that. And then I also would like to finish 4 Switch games. So one of them being Octopath Traveler.
Ooh. It's a long one. It's such a good game.
Scott, you didn't even finish that one, right?
I didn't. I hit a grinding wall. And it just got turned off, and that's a game, that is an RPG that if you take a break from it for too long, you're done. I wouldn't even have a clue how to go back and play that game now.
Yeah. So, but I'm actually going to pick it up and try to remember what I can from where I left off. So,
how far into it were you?
Probably 20 hours.
Ooh, man, that's gonna be tough.
That would be a lot of ground to recover.
Yeah.
Man, I was so excited for that game until they said that the stories didn't interconnect. Did not.
I got as far as the 3rd chapter, which I think there's 4 chapters. And yeah, they were kind of like their own independent stories. You just brought along the other members from the other.
Right, but they weren't like narratively part of it, right?
Not as far as I got.
So
I didn't
weird.
finish it, obviously.
What a strange choice. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Just for icing on the cake, 25K gamer score added this year.
Oh, okay. So my goal then is to stay ahead of CB in 2020.
So a minimum of 25K gamer score.
A minimum of 25K gamer score. I feel like that, dude, there are so many games that you and I haven't even discovered yet that are like just ridiculously easy to get a ton of achievement points.
Considering I've only ever touched one Lego game.
Actually, same here. And those are ones we could play together, man.
I know.
Oh, we could just knock out a whole Saturday and play nothing but Lego games.
Ooh.
I heard Batman is actually really fun. The Batman Lego game.
Lego DC superheroes or supervillains is dope as hell.
I played a little bit of that.
It's real good. Lego Batman 3, total disappointment.
Is that the one I'm thinking? I thought that was the one that was like really easy to get, though.
I was going to say, wasn't like 3 the one in space or something?
Yeah,
like beyond Gotham.
Yeah, and it was also, the story was all about the lanterns, and yet it was not good. And you got to imagine how much that hurt me.
Yeah,
I can imagine so. All right, is that it, CB?
Yeah, I think that's lofty enough for me.
All right, what community comments do you got?
So Spark Mark at Sparky Marcus. Hopefully for those who are, the resolution is to be less toxic. I still appreciate good debate, but the toxicity from gamers is just not healthy. I completely agree.
I love that one. So
that's a good broad one for, I think everybody should abide by it.
Yeah.
And then Sean Coates. I try like I do every year to play as many games as possible to make my own top 10 best and worst lists and make a YouTube video from it. And also my resolution is to actually make videos for YouTube.
Nice.
I applaud you, sir, and good luck. If there's any advice we can give, even though we don't really do as much YouTube, feel free to reach out.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that because that's something that I would actually really like to get into. I feel like that's a glaring omission from what we do here at the Gaming Outsider is videos and streaming, for that matter. We barely stream. We are definitely the old farts in that regard, and I would like to see myself stream a little bit more often. And you know what? So did Tim Paulin. Tim Paulin said Twitch stream at least 3 days a week from the hotel, and also beat 20 games. So 20 games, I feel like I could do that pretty easily. But streaming 3 days a week it's tough for me to. As anyone that's ever tried to play an online game with me knows, I am not the most reliable fellow when it comes to playing something online. I mean, at least I did actually buy Borderlands 3, unlike some people.
I'm expecting it in the mail any day now.
But yeah, I am. I try to get through games as quickly as possible, but when I'm in a game, I'm in. My buddies from Division 2, remember, I put the pedal to the metal with that game. But it's so hard to plan around streaming because people that want to watch you play it, they expect you to do it at a certain time. Chad has a specific time that he plays every night that the community knows when he's going to be on. For me, finding that time is difficult with as many things as I've got going on in my life, but I'd like to figure out a way to make that happen. Also, Samuel Smith says, stepping out of my comfort zone and also trying to finish games I start and work on my backlog no matter how old the game. I especially like what he said about working out of your comfort zone. That's something that I learned from my favorite game of 2019, which was Children of Morta. That game forced me out of my comfort zone on multiple occasions and made me realize that sometimes I play games differently than expected. And I want to do that with games in general. I want to try a couple genres that I've typically strayed away from because I suck at them or because I've just had very little interest or have been scared of them. Maybe
Souls.
Maybe World of Warcraft. Maybe
don't do it. Don't do it.
Bloodborne.
Maybe. I've played Bloodborne
Dark Souls.
Little bit. If I were going to do that, I feel like I need to go something newer, like Sekiro.
No, Sekiro is too different.
Okay. Just go back to the original Dark Souls.
I mean, that game's pretty rad. Or Bloodborne, man. Bloodborne's so good.
It's so hard, man. I just don't have patience. I just don't have the patience. But that's the thing is I got to get out of my comfort zone. CB already mentioned it. I need to stay ahead of him in Gamerscore this year. And I think that's about it. I mean, the easy answers are backlog, but like Zack said, who are we kidding? I'm not going to touch it. As far as with the gaming outsider, I really would like to. And I know this sounds kind of backwards, but I really want to enjoy gaming more this year. I think I want to be a little bit more selective with the games that I choose to review, and instead of just looking for number. Trying to push them through. But I would like to see us get at least 3 AAA review copies this year. Like last year, we got Control and we got Shadow of the Tomb Raider, right? I think those are the only real big titles that we got.
Well, Shadow was 2018 anyway.
Oh, was it? Okay, so the only real big one we got was Control last year.
That does not sound right to me.
No.
Freedom Finger.
What did Square Enix put out? Nothing?
Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah. I mean, we'll probably get Avengers this year. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I would love to get some more AAA games and build a little bit more clout, but been trying to do my dues by playing a bunch of games that aren't necessarily always my cup of tea. But man, 106 reviews in 2019, nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I did have one other one. R2V2 2020. My goal is 600 paid people in the door for 2020. We hit 450 last
650.
year. 650 is yours? You think 650? We'll see what happens. And I've got another project that I'm not going to say on the air what it is. I'll tell you guys when we're done. I'm cooking up possibly something else, either in addition to R2V2 or in conjunction with R2V2, trying to decide how much I want to take off and try to chew at the same time. So stay tuned for that. I can't really divulge what that is yet because it's more like an idea than actually putting anything in motion at this point, but made some connections that would be interesting. So anyway, that was our topic. That was a lot of fun. Just saying, Oculus Quest, 26.2 miles. You got me thinking, man. You got me thinking. We don't have any new Facebook members this week. However, if you'd like to join in the conversations over there and stay up to date with the news as we come across it, be sure to head over to facebook.com/groups/thegocast. We do have one new Discord member, Eric Olson, who joined in. He actually has been on Facebook for quite a while and has joined in over there. There is a link in the show notes if you would like to join Discord. And you know what? There's also a link to iTunes. If you'd like to help us out, get us some extra exposure, head over to iTunes and give us a review. We would take your comments seriously, take them to heart, and make changes as they are recommended if they make sense for the podcast. And we'd love to hear from you. And like I said, those reviews do get us some exposure, so please do that. Also, check out our website, thegamingoutsider.com. We have all of our written reviews on there, and the two that we've got from this past week include one from Bob, where he played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, the enhanced editions. You'll actually hear him talk about those here in the next couple minutes. And also, Chris Owens' review of AO Tennis 2 is available on the website. That is Australian Open Tennis. And he'll also be talking about that one here in just the next couple minutes. With that, let's go ahead and talk about the games that we've actually been playing. All right, Zach, you mentioned earlier not much coming out in January. Anything this coming week?
Right. I mean, at least there's something, because last week, nothing. But this...
Nothing at all?
Nothing. I mean, there are like some 3, indie Steam games or something. But anyway, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot comes to PS4, Xbox One, and PC January 17th. That is retelling the entire DBZ saga yet again, but in an open-world action RPG format. Played this at E3. It was pretty cool.
With over 9,000 screams.
I'm intrigued by that because I did not get into the Dragon Ball deal at all, and I'm wondering if this is a condensed way for me to do it instead of going back and watching the anime. If it's the same story. Yeah,
I mean, there are 100 ways you can experience that story because they just won't stop telling it.
Yeah, well, people keep buying into it.
You're absolutely right. And then another prime example of a game I would love to play on Switch, but I'm going to have to convince myself via resolution to do so. Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE, coming to Switch January 17th. This is the Shin Megami Tensei Fire Emblem crossover.
Oh, interesting.
Nothing like another Wii U port.
It is, yeah. It's got to be almost every Wii U game now, except Star Fox Zero and the Wonderful 101, I think, are the only two really remaining.
God, I want the Wonderful 101.
I'm blown.
That's a game that I heard was really good, and I've never played it.
Blown away that's on Switch yet. But this game looks cool. You play as like Japanese pop idol girls, and then you summon Fire Emblem characters to battle for you.
Interesting.
That sounds pretty dope.
All right.
But yay, CB, how's Jamestown Plus?
It's pretty good. I mean, as far as vertical shooters go, this is actually my first foray into shmup on Switch. Other than
Freedom Finger.
Other than Freedom Finger, but
other than the shmup, of course.
Yeah, I actually remember I reviewed Freedom Finger on PC. So.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yep. So still play it, but Jamestown Plus is actually kind of a unique one because it's a game that's been around for a while. And I didn't know about it until Scott told me about it. So
yeah, I have it on PS4.
I was going to say the name seemed familiar as hell.
Basically, it is a alternate steampunk history retelling where the British colonies were started on Mars instead of the Americas.
I was about to ask you if they explained the name. I guess they do.
Yeah. So it's pretty cute. It handles very well. For a shmup. I'm not a fan of playing it on just the Switch screen. I actually really like playing this on a larger screen, just because I like having the extra room to see.
Say with how intense a shmup is, you want as much screen real estate as possible.
Yes, and this is definitely a bullet hell in some spots, but you have your little ship, and there's a lot of callbacks to historical figures like John Smith and whatnot. But your ship is powered after you blow things up, you collect gold to get this bonus meter. It's an interesting take. I do have one big problem with this game. To progress through the game, I first played this game on normal, and I beat the opening area, and then tried to go to the next area, and it's like, oh, you cannot do this. You have to go back and beat the same levels again on the harder setting.
What?
Yes. So I found that very irritating. To basically progress to the next area, you have to play it on the harder setting. So for people who are coming into like the shmup genre, this would probably not be the best way to get started.
It kind of feels like a dick move.
It does. And most of the time, like if I've never played a shmup before, I will start on normal just to kind of get a feel for it and then kind of ramp up. But the fact that I can't just progress through the game, like I have to go back and it's like, oh, well, say I'm not very good at a shmup and I can't beat this level, I can't progress through the game.
Well, it's why I have the difficulty levels then, you know?
Yeah.
When
At that point in time, just make it so it's like, here's the game, Cuphead style. There is no difficulty setting.
Right.
Just
As
go.
I say, I'm not opposed to, I guess, kind of gatekeeping your game around difficulty level like a Dark Souls, but then you're just kind of lying to the player at that point when you're giving them an option.
What incentive do you have to play it on a lower level of difficulty if it's not going to get you anywhere?
It felt like a cheap shot, pretty much. Like if I had just bought this game, like, oh, cool, I'm going to get used to playing these kind of games. Oh, wait, I can't progress any farther than these 3 until I get good. I just don't like when games do that.
Right.
So,
Well, it's like, thanks for buying our game. Yeah, no, here, play it however you want. Yeah, we got an easy mode for you. Psych. Kidding me?
yeah.
Gotta be a real gamer if you want to play.
Are you sure that there's not like a setting, or I mean, did you mess around with it enough?
I messed around with it a little bit. I couldn't find a setting to go through it. So, I mean, granted, I went through and played it on the harder levels and got through it. But
Did you try the Konami code maybe?
No, I didn't.
Do you have any idea what the plus is for? Because I know this is, like you mentioned, is an older game, and this is updated and able to be put on Switch. Is there? I know you didn't play the original game, so you probably can't tell the difference.
Couldn't tell you there. So
okay.
But I mean, I enjoyed it. I like shmups, so it's not my favorite. This one kind of falls in the middle ground for me. Like it's definitely not Ikaruga, but it's a solid entry for those who are decent at the shmup genre. For newcomers, I would steer clear of this one.
Gotcha.
So,
All right, fair enough. That was Jamestown Plus on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about this Darth Vader nonsense?
Yeah, I still have a hold of CB's Oculus Quest, and I played through over the holidays. I played through the first 2 episodes of Vader Immortal, and I was so enthralled with it. I literally went on his quest and purchased the 3rd episode just because I wanted to see how it wrapped up. Zach, you need to play this game. I mean, I feel like we all do, right? The gameplay. The gameplay isn't super in depth. I mean, but this is the only game that I can remember where you actually get to wield a lightsaber in front of you, kind of like you do in Beat Saber, but you're actually using it as a lightsaber to deflect laser bolts and to block lightsaber blows at you. And it just feels great. And you get to go toe-to-toe with Darth Vader. And he talks to you. And the story that they're doing actually plays into the Skywalker saga in an interesting way, I think. I'm dancing around it because I really want you to experience it. The way it wraps up, there's a couple scenes in this final episode that I played that were just things that I've wanted in a Star Wars game in a long time. And I liked it so much, it made me almost angry at how short this is. Because, I mean, episode 1 is maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, maybe if you stretch it out. And then episode 2 is a little bit shorter. This one seriously felt like between 10 and 15 minutes. It's my only real knock about it is I just wanted more. I just and the way this ends, CB, you'll be happy to know, it does leave it open ended, like we could see more in this universe with this character. But I'm really enjoying it. It feels awesome to not only hold a lightsaber in your hand, but be able to hold it in front of you, flick it on, and then flick it off, and then holster it basically. But you get this special lightsaber, which I won't tell you what it is because it's kind of it's story related. But this one special lightsaber that you get, when you flick it off, it goes away, and you actually see wisps of smoke coming off of the kyber crystal, which is actually visible above the hilt of the lightsaber. So it's like, oh, my lightsaber just turned off, and there's smoke coming off of it. It's just a tiny little thing, but it's freaking rad. It's just really cool.
This all happens on Mustafar, right?
Yes.
Do you you go around Vader's castle or anything?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just finished the comic run of Darth Vader that ends with him building his castle.
Oh, so you'll be able to actually tell if it looks like it does in the comic or not.
Do they touch on the Dark Lord Momin in this game?
That name does not ring a bell.
Okay.
No, from playing the first episode, there's some hints towards some deeper lore, but there wasn't anything super in depth.
Okay.
No, it's a pretty light story, but Vader's goal is interesting.
Well, I know the reason he built the castle. I assume it's the same goal. So maybe we'll talk off air briefly.
Maybe we'll talk off air. Yeah.
Let's be perfectly honest. This game is a tech demo with a light story attached.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a super in-depth game. I mean, even there's a section I was playing in this episode where you're going down a corridor and there are all these stormtroopers on skiffs, and you have to just block the bolts and back at them to knock them off. But it's very simple, but it feels so freaking awesome. It just feels good, man. It really does. There's a moment where you get to do something with your lightsaber that I've never done in another Star Wars game that I, again, won't give away. It's a small little thing, but it feels
lick it?
Awesome. No, not. It's, again, that's kind of story related. So I don't know with as weak as the story, is it considered spoilery here, Chris?
I mean, probably.
Okay.
Light on story or not, it's a cool thing where everything
to
is
experience.
That everything is canon now.
Yes.
That's cool.
Okay.
That's a cool experiment. All of our games, books, comics, TV show, they're all one canon. That's ballsy.
And it's obvious that the guy playing Vader isn't James Earl Jones, but the guy doing it does a pretty bang up job.
Okay.
Pretty close. So I would highly recommend, if you have the means to play Vader Immortal, just do it. I think if you buy a quest, doesn't it come free with the first episode?
It did. I don't know if it does currently, because I think that was a limited time deal.
Was it? And then each episode is like $10. So I mean, if you look that you're paying $10 for a 20-minute experience, it's a little steep, but it looks impressive.
It's not a limited experience because, once again, the lightsaber dojo alone is worth the $10.
That's true. And each episode, actually, because when I fired this one up, it has Lightsaber Dojo 3. So there's new stuff in the dojos that I haven't touched yet. So
I have a feeling I'm going to be coming calling for that quest.
I better get in my my pistol whip in sooner than later then, because I really like that game too. Merry Christmas, by the way. I bought you pistol whip.
Hey, you got something for me too, son.
I did. And Zack has something too if he ever gets his ass up here.
That's true.
Gotta get that license, man.
He's got things for me too that he's still got to pick up.
That's true.
Peach Beach Splash.
Look, man. Wow. Okay. Great. Look, man. I had to start up a cafe in 3 days. All right, cut me a little bit of slack here.
I know, I'm just giving you a hard time. All right, well, before we head out of here, I do have some other quick reviews for you. As I mentioned, Bob is going to be talking about Baldur's Gate, and Baldur's Gate 2, Planescape Torment, and Icewind Dale.
Wow, that's
which are all
stunning list of video games.
Yeah, they're all in 2 different collections. So Bob is really liking those games, and you'll get a chance to hear him talk about that. Just as a heads up, Bob's audio is a little off. You can hear him fine, but it sounds like there's something going on in the background, so I apologize in advance that is there, but we are aware of it. Also, I talked to Rel about a R&B role-playing game called Orangeblood that you're going to hear him talk about. And then I also mentioned that I talked to Chris Owens about AO Tennis 2. You'll hear his thoughts on that game. And then finally, we talked to producer extraordinaire Nate Lucas about a little hack and slash game called Riverbond that he played on Switch. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and let you listen to those reviews right now. Well, hey there, Bob. How you been, man? Long time no see.
Super good, Scott. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thanks for stopping by and talking to us about, well, you've got quite the bevy of games here that you reviewed for us. And I'm not familiar with these titles, but I know a lot of people are. We've got Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition, and then Planescape Torment and Icewind Dale Enhanced Edition. These were originally developed by BioWare and Black Isle Studios, but they've been ported to console and updated by Beamdog. And we got to give a shout out as well to Sandbox Strategies for hooking you up with a copy of this. But Bob, I have never played these games. I have no idea what they are. I know they have something to do with Dungeons and Dragons. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. And that's all it really is. It was just a port, probably it was around the time that we were both in high school, that came to PC where they wanted to put basically Dungeons and Dragons games on, to make it an actual game rather than just a board game. But for the most part, as it was originally, it's very basically exactly as it is with Dungeons and Dragons, where you play, you can have different characters, you create your character with different statistics, where you can also roll. In real life, you roll dice, and here you just call it a roll, but you can increase or decrease your statistics based on your roll, and increase your ability to talk your way out of a situation or perhaps get a critical hit.
Well, that sounds a lot like Fallout and Elder Scrolls.
Yes, well, this is primarily where it came from, and to the best of my knowledge, I've never seen anything before a Dungeons and Dragons board game that had this sort of role system, and they just still have it. That's really all it is.
So are these turn-based games? Because I know it's BioWare, but when I think BioWare, because I didn't get into those games until, like Fallout 3 and until Skyrim, and those are more action-oriented. But are these more turn-based, like grid-based? How do you actually play them?
No, it's pretty much exactly what you'd see on Skyrim, but it's obviously a very, much older predecessor, a couple decades older. Everything looks a little diagonal. You could say where you can actually walk in angles and do that sort of thing. It was one of the first couple games that I realized where you could walk in angles, and I thought it looked a little funny. When you see like the border of the inn that you're in or a building, it looks like a triangle. You know what I'm saying? Where you actually see the angles rather than straight forward and back. And that also makes it a little bit of a chore to, pick up items and loot and things of that nature. But no, for the most part, it is just as you see it, like a Skyrim. It's an overhead view where you can see all the characters. You can see them walking around. You can see everything around you, in a certain amount of space based on where you are. So like an
isometric view like Diablo?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
That's exactly what it is. And so you can see everything that way. It's not really turn-based, but there are things that you can do to where, like I said, you can roll and you can increase or decrease based on your roll, different on what you're doing, whether it's, fighting or talking or trying to talk your way out of a situation or into a situation or something like that, healing, fighting, whatever it might be.
Okay. Well, these are 4 games, and you've played on them. So what is exactly is updated to make these? Is it just a port to the console, or have they done some improvements?
The only improvements really seem to be aesthetically. There's some better sound, as I remember it from many years ago. They look a lot better. Still not flawless. Still a little fuzzy or blocky or whatever you want to call it. If you can remember, PC games from the late 90s, early 2000s, where they weren't flawless, but they're still a lot better than, say, a blocky Final Fantasy VII or something of that nature. It's definitely past that. Maybe think like GoldenEye, or just maybe a tiny bit better than GoldenEye or something like that on the N64. But mostly, it's just these sounds, and the visuals are a lot better than they used to be. The controls are just still the same. It's still kind of ropey and clunky to where you kind of have to get the right position to loot something out of a chest. You can't just stand next to it. You kind of got to make your character in front of it, and they walk around a little goofy, and they still, you run into like a little bush on the ground that's only like 6 inches high, but you still can't get around it sometimes. However, you can still walk behind a tree and fully look like you're behind a tree and you can't see them because of the foliage. But that's what you got out of a video game in 1998 or 2000.
Yeah, these are older games. So, but I mean, I kind of get the impression that that's not why you play these games. You play these games for, number one, the nostalgia factor, but also the stories and the RPG elements, which I assume are still hold up. Absolutely.
It's excessively great as far as nostalgia. I started a lot longer ago, before these came out in the 80s with RPGs, whether it was Dragon Warrior, Final Fantasy, and things of that nature. But I've always loved RPGs, even though I don't play them as much anymore. But when I was in high school, I just literal hundreds upon hundreds of hours with these games. And that's not overestimating, and that's not just taking my time. I mean, the Baldur's Gate storyline, is 95 hours easy.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot to it. There's a lot of, just because there's a lot of matchmaking, there's a lot of walking around, there's a lot of meeting other people and using their abilities and fighting. And the leveling is kind of slow, but there's so many different aspects to the game, and there's so many ways to kind of win the game or play the game, whether it's with a different crew that you amass or create, because everyone's got a different statistic. You've got a thief that could be kind of chaotic bad, and all he'll do in a fight is just hide in the shadows and wait for someone to walk by and he stabs him in the back. Or, you've got the standard sort of knight paladin, or you've got elves and orcs, and you've got all sorts of critters and companions that can do all sorts of different things. And it makes it interesting because one thing that was new that I didn't mention beyond the aesthetics and the sounds and such was the fact that they created a story mode where your characters won't die. In the standard game, or the game that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, when one of your companions died, that was it. They're gone. There's no resurrection.
Permadeath, huh?
It's permadeath. But now you can have the story mode where they won't die. You can kind of keep who you want to keep, or you can resurrect who you want to resurrect, and you just kind of keep playing with them, and you get to experience the story mode and experience the nostalgia of a really good, long, fun RPG story without all of the terrible, and I say terrible, for people that don't want to deal with it, all of the trials and tribulations of what a Dungeons & Dragons RPG video game was. At the same time, you still can play it as I did back in the late 90s, where there is death, there is a lot of, there's roles, and you've got different sort of people you can take on, and characters and situations. So it's just a lot of fun that way. It's nostalgia-wise, it's fantastic, and just to see, because Dungeons & Dragons, itself, like the board game's been making a large resurrection over the past couple of years, and to kind of see where it kind of took off. It started with the board games in the early 80s, late 70s, and then, once they were able to make video games, it kind of got ported into that. So to see really where it started in what was pretty much the first, say, 2 decades of Dungeons & Dragons, it's really pretty neat, I think. And it's nice for me to be able to go back and, just like you're a Legend of Zelda fan, to go back and play the original. It's just fun. You remember what you loved about it. And it's pretty much the same sort of thing, but in this case, Dungeons & Dragons.
Well, let me ask you one more question. I know it sounds like you're recommending it for people that want to go back and re-experience it, that played it, almost 20 years ago, or in this case, over 20 years ago. But how accessible is this game for somebody that's never jumped into them before? Is it going to be too clunky, or do you think I can have some fun with it?
I think that it's more for the people who want it for nostalgia. Because like I said, it is still clunky and the movement's a little ropey and lackluster. Because it really is like you're going back and playing a 25-year-old game. But sound wise, and like I said, they made it a lot easier with their story mode, to where you don't have to deal with all the difficulty. It's like setting it on. You go through a lot of games like, say, Dead Space, where you have like an easy and a normal and so on. And story mode is kind of the easy mode, where you can still go through, and there's still challenges. It's still not the easiest thing in the world to do. It's a very long game that you have to go through, and there's still a lot of things. There's just still a lot of missions, even if you don't do side stuff. There's a lot of story they wrote in here. But if you want to experience that, yeah, it's great. And the story mode is literally perfect for it, because it is the story mode. You don't have to do absolutely everything. You don't got to worry about, the difficulty of having to find new people, or, trying to find, the proper mix of, well, this person is, lawful good, and they don't work very well with chaotic good, etc. And how all those things work together. It's still just the story mode. And I think that a lot of people would still enjoy it. But I think more so, this was put out for people like me, who enjoyed it for hundreds upon hundreds of hours, over my summer in 98, 99, and, didn't do anything else when it was, 100 degrees out. And this was just fun and killed plenty of time. And yeah, I mean, nostalgia wise, to see the sounds and the motions and all the other little things, it was gleeful, to see all those little things. So yes, absolutely. I do recommend it. I think that, even if you haven't played it and you don't need it nostalgia wise, I think that everyone should play a game like this, because, much like the original Final Fantasy, or the first couple, or Legend of Zelda, or even Link to the Past, to see where a lot of these games came from is, I think, really important if you're very, interested in, not only video game lore, but, as it has to do with the single game, but to also see where a lot of these came from, to see the steps that they've taken. And also, in a company like BioWare, to see what they do now as compared to where they started, that's pretty awesome too.
All right, man. Well, that is Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition, and Planescape Torment and Icewind Dale Enhanced Edition. And again, thanks to Sandbox Strategies for the hookup there. Bob, thanks so much for stopping by and talking to us about this game, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Scott.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later. Hey, Rel, long time no see, man. How you doing?
Doing well. Yourself?
I'm doing all right, man. A little tired. I'm over the Christmas and New Year's holidays and back to a exercise regiment. I'm sore all the time, tired all the time. It's trying to get back in the swing of things. How about you?
I have none of those things. I just had game night last night, which ended up with me coming home past midnight.
Yeah, you're playing board games though, right?
Yeah, I have a friend who does a weekly game night, and we play various board games, like the really meaty stuff. I'm not talking Monopoly. I'm talking Terraforming Mars, Res Arcana, Scythe, Blood Rage. They're really good games.
Nice, man. I haven't even heard of any of those, and I thought I was into board games, but
I highly recommend every single one that I said.
I will have to go back and look into those. But you are here to talk to us about a game that you've been reviewing for us called Orangeblood. This comes from the developer Greyfax Software and was provided to us by Stride PR, so thanks to those guys. I want you to talk to me about this one because I love turn-based role-playing games, and that's what this looks like, but it looks it got a little rap influence in it. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty big hip-hop rap influence, especially 90s hip-hop. I'm going to preface this by saying that this was a game that wasn't that great.
Okay.
This was a game that does a few things pretty well, and the rest are either passable or just kind of, this could have been done better.
Okay.
So just to give a backstory about this game, I believe it's an RPG Maker game. I've found it on various sites dedicated to hosting RPG Maker made games, and it feels like it as well. The premise is you play as Vanilla, who is some kind of Black Ops specialist who is hired by the CIA to figure out what the heck is going on this man-made island off the coast of Okinawa. And this is an island that's basically owned by various organized crime organizations. It's very shiny. It's very like Vegas-y in that there's all this neon going on everywhere, and it just feels grimy and just dirty and lovely if you like that kind of thing. If you just really want to get a venereal disease.
Oh, wow. All right. No, yeah, I mean, I can't tell if you're selling people on that or if that's a knock.
Well, I like that about the game because it has a very unique feel to other RPGs. Other RPGs are like, fantasy centric or they're sci-fi. This is more along the lines of a cyberpunk type thing, like Neuromancer, if you've ever read that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But with R&B influence.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the first character you meet is like an aspiring rap artist who then, like, you then together take over a nightclub in order for it to be your home base, and they do nothing but play rap music all the time and basically have raves every night.
Now, is this actual, like, licensed rap music, or is this...
No, it's all original.
Oh, wow, okay. Is it any good, the music, the rap?
I'm not the best person to ask about that. I've never been much of a hip-hop fan.
Okay.
Put it this way. It did not offend my delicate sensibilities. It seemed pretty, what's the term, bumpin'?
You're so white, man.
Yeah, I think I'm too white to give an honest opinion about this.
Yeah, you are. Well, I mean, it looks, like I said, turn-based. The sprites looked pretty cool. I've never played around with RPG Maker, but I was impressed with what it looked like.
Oh, yeah. One thing that is absolutely in the game's favor is the sprite work is gorgeous. It is probably the best I've seen from I think a one-person made indie game. Like, it's pretty amazing in that regard. However, the things I didn't like about it, the weapon system is kind of bare bones and at the same time kind of bloated. Basically, whenever you open a chest, you get a randomized weapon along the lines of Borderlands, where it's a random weapon type. It will randomly have bonuses and modifiers or even detriments, and be one of, I think it was 4 elements.
Okay.
It was 4 elements? No, I think it was 3. Yeah. And the elements come into play because a lot of enemies have elemental weaknesses, and if you exploit those, it makes life a lot easier. But the problem is that the enemies, oh my goodness, the weapons, because they're all random, it can mean that you don't get an upgrade to either your weapons or your gear for quite some time. You might end up getting weapons that are just plain not as good as the ones you have, or they have a detriment, or they're an element that you don't need in this particular dungeon. And so it's not as rewarding as other RPGs in that sense. And you gradually do get better stuff because the game does increase the level of the weapons. And so that does mean that eventually you're going to find something, but it also means that the various chests that you open throughout the game aren't that rewarding.
Oh, that's a bummer. That's kind of what you like in an RPG is, feeling that sense of empowerment once you get that new weapon. Yeah,
I mean, that's the whole point of RPGs. Make numbers bigger.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a bummer. How's the story? I mean, I know you said the beginning of it was a little goofy, but...
Well, I would say the story is both good and bad in that it starts off good. There's a lot of dialogue talking about a lot of different factions that aren't deeply explored, and so I was at times sort of confused on who certain groups were and what their position was in the story. But overall, the basic premise is just that you need to infiltrate this one multi-tiered hidden area and figure out what whoever it is that owns it is doing there. And that's pretty basic. That's pretty simple. You don't really need to worry too much about that. However, there is kind of a twist at the end that I was just scratching my head and going, really? You're going to do that?
Well, I'm curious. I'm going to have you tell me what it is off air so we don't spoil it for everybody.
I will do that. You will probably laugh.
I can't wait to hear it. So is this one that you recommend for people to check out, or?
Well, ordinarily I would if it weren't at this particular price point. It's $20 American. It's going to be on Steam and all major consoles. And actually, I think with when this podcast comes out, it's already out. Mm-hmm. For $20, the problem is that it's only about 6 to 7 hours long. And for an RPG, that's not much. And it's not the kind of game where it's so amazing an experience that you would want to put down $20 for it. It's not like, Portal, where even though it's really short, it's one that makes an impact on you.
Gotcha. And you've got a video review that people can check out as well, correct?
Yes, I do. And you can find that at youtube.com/relplays. That's RELLE plays. And I believe as of this podcast, the video should be up and the game should be out.
Fantastic. Well, Rel, thanks for stopping by and talking to us about Orangeblood, and shout out to Stride PR for hooking us up with that copy. And yeah, I guess we'll talk to you later, man.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Chris Owens, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Scott Clark?
Not bad. Long time no talk, man. What you been up to?
This, that, and everything else. Adulting is hard to do in the gaming world, that's for sure.
It is a real thing, man. Well, you were here to talk to us about a sports game. Go figure. I know you love it.
Go figure that.
But I didn't know you were into tennis at all. I was shocked that you wanted to check this one out.
Well, I'm into sports in general, and this one kind of caught my eye as far as what it brings to the table.
Yeah, well, this game is called AO Tennis 2, and the AO stands for Australian Open. This one comes from developer Big Ant Studios and was provided to us by Home Run PR, so thanks to those guys for hooking us up. Talk to me about this game. Last tennis game I played, I think, was something Mario-related.
Well, Big Ant Studios being an Australian-based developer, obviously the Australian Open would be huge for them to develop into, and this game pretty much surrounds itself around the Australian Open. It's one of the 4 major tournaments in the tennis world, and they, as I mentioned, they center the whole game around this. All the venues available for the Australian Open are playable in this. There's a game mode committed to the Australian Open where you're seeded, you play through, you win the Australian Open, all is glorious in the world. That's how it happens in the gaming industry.
If I'm not mistaken, the Australian Open is the only tennis, I don't even know what you call a match or championship or tournament that's actually licensed by a video game.
That's right. None of the other tournaments have that kind of licensing power. So that's a quite unique aspect to this.
So graphically, how is it? Because from the trailer, it looked pretty spot on.
Graphically, it is beautiful. The first thing I noticed was the fuzz on the tennis ball, and it wasn't like pixelated. It wasn't meshed or mushed or however you want to put it. It looked like a tennis ball, and the courts were beautiful. The crowd sizes, depending on the type of tournament, is right on the money. They really took some meticulous time to make it look like a tennis game, look like what a tennis game should look like for a real hardcore type tennis player.
Yeah, I was even looking at one of the matches, and they had it down to the detail. I know this is a silly thing to notice, but they had the shadow of the what are they, stadiums? I don't know what you call them.
Yeah, they're tennis stadiums.
The shadow was like over like a third of the court, just on one side of it, which I thought was an interesting detail because it would be just very simple just to make it bright and sunny, high noon, all the entire time. But I thought that was kind of cool.
Well, another great aspect of it is the crowd noise. There's genuine crowd noise depending on the type of volley that's played, the type of shot that's hit, and you actually have the ref telling the crowd to quiet down if it gets too much into interfering with the next serve of the match.
Nice. Well, talk to me about the gameplay, because even though I've played some very arcadey tennis games in the past, I couldn't tell you how I played them. I just kind of ran to the ball and hit a button. But I imagine this one being a simulation, there's a lot more going on.
There is no arcade in this whatsoever. This is sim all the way. And the problem with that, and I applaud Big Ant for making this as close to a real sim as possible. It's so close, it takes away from the general gameplay aspects that you would expect in a game like this to have. For example, the ball, wherever it's hit on the court, you have to react to it like it's going to be in the right position when you're hitting the ball. But the problem with that is in every spot on the court, it's always different. So how you think you're going to hit the sweet spot. We all have that muscle memory whenever we're playing golf games or tennis games, or even when we're trying to hit a boost in Mario Kart and get the timing down just right. It's different every time, which is an interesting aspect because it's never the same shot twice when you're on different spots on the court. But it's incredibly frustrating that your muscle memory is off every time. Give you a good example of how this works is when the ball is coming at you and you're in a good position to hit the ball, you hold the action button down, whether it be a simple forehand play or you putting spin on the ball or you put fade on the ball, and it goes from red to amber to green back down to amber. So there's like that real sweet spot in the middle where it's perfect power and perfect accuracy. But at the same time, you're also moving your joystick to put it in the right spot on the court where you want to hit it against your opponent. So you're trying to watch the meter and also watch where you're going to hit it, because if that ball is off on the accuracy and power and you're trying to hit it on the corner, it will go out of bounds.
Right.
It's so meticulous to it, and it's almost too much, because I'll tell you, I'll fall on my sword on this. I was playing at like the mid-level. I never like to play rookie when it comes to games. I want to have like that I know you do, just to, to play the game and get through it and be able to talk about it because you're able to get through it. But I want that genuine gaming experience to play on mid levels and in some cases higher levels, depending on the game. But I played on amateur, which is the third or fourth level in the game. I played at least a dozen matches getting ready for this review. I maybe won 2 games out of all those matches. And you got to understand, you got to win at least 12 games in these matches to win the match. So I won 2 games across all these matches and maybe 18 points total. That's how difficult this mechanic was, and it got incredibly frustrating. I had to remember that I was holding my Xbox Elite controller and not a tennis racket because I was ready to slam it more than once.
Yeah, I believe it. Who was it? Was it Agassi that used to slam them or throw them?
McEnroe.
McEnroe.
There's many players that have destroyed a racket or two, but McEnroe is the most famous of those.
Well, I don't know, man. You're kind of selling me on it. I like this idea of it not just being, because that was always one of my frustrations with those arcadey ones, is I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't really feel like I had any control over where it was going. This sounds like something that might be fun to try, and I would actually start at the rookie level and work my way up and learn it.
My fear for you, because I'm a sports game advocate, as we all know. I'm the champ kind of the gaming outsider, and whammy, that's the kind of thing I do. But I'm afraid what you're talking about in those arcade ones where you're just kind of hitting and having fun, that this goes too far on the other end of the spectrum.
Gotcha.
That it gets too involved with the mechanics, and that's what I found in it. I mean, if you find, I may go back and play on the rookie level just to kind of see if I can start slower than I did to jump into this thing, like you're going to do, and see if you get a better grip on it. But it goes way on the end of the curve than just the arcade style.
So it sounds like you kind of want that Forza Horizon experience in a tennis game where it meets somewhere in the middle of arcade and sim.
Absolutely. Okay. Because I applaud the studio for putting the realism in it, because it really is deep. If you're a tennis player and a gamer, and I don't know how well that hybrid meshes together, if anybody out there in the community does have a passion on both sides of it, we'll really enjoy that. Okay. But the sim is so deep, it kind of takes away from the gamer that's looking for a tennis sim, like Virtua Tennis. Back in the day on Dreamcast and the Sega series. I loved that series. I really did. And I thought this looked more real than that, but the mechanics were so real and so, I guess you want to say, everybody talks about being pixel perfect when it comes to shots like this. This is like micro pixel perfect, and you have to do it every time on different spots of the court, like I said, to really have any success with it.
So do you recommend it?
I'm on the fence. I had to go back and kind of lighten my load to really get a better feel for what the mechanics are. To pick up and play and go, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to get frustrated right away, especially in career mode. I was talking about how career mode is very deep, and you start from the beginning as somebody that just turned pro, and you're really starting in the beginner circuits of tournaments and whatnot. You're going to get frustrated. If you're easy to get frustrated, not going to get really into it and really have fun right out the bat, this is not going to be a game for you. But if you have the time to learn the mechanics and really master them and really go into real tennis training in a sim situation, you will. But it's going to take some time.
All right, sounds good. And if you'd like to read more about Chris's experience with AO Tennis 2, which he played on Xbox One, head over to thegamingoutsider.com. He's got a full written review there. Chris, thanks so much for joining us and talking to us about this game, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Scott.
Mr. Lucas, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing all right. Thank you for taking a break from your podcasting, producing duties to come talk to me about a game you've been playing, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It was a joy playing it.
Yeah, you're here to talk about a game called Riverbond, which came from a developer called Coco Cucumber, which might be the coolest developer name ever. And this copy was provided to us by Stride PR, so thank you to those guys for hooking us up.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about this game, man. It looks like I want to say a brawler, like a 3D brawler, but very heavily pixelated.
It's closer to like a hack and slash. So when I first saw it, it very much reminded me of Diablo in gameplay. But then it's got a cutesy kind of 3D pixel art based gameplay. I guess it's called voxel.
Yeah.
But it was very cutesy, and it didn't seem as in-depth or as intense as Diablo. And it seemed like something cool to pick up. It didn't seem like a very intense game. It's something to play casually, and it fit that bill.
Okay, and it's got multiplayer component built into it, right? They can play up to 4 people?
Yeah, you can have up to 4 people. I don't know if that's local co-op or if that's online. I don't recall. Unfortunately, I didn't play the multiplayer at all. I focused on the single player playthrough.
Is it one that you'd want to play with a buddy, or?
It'd be something cool to sit down and play if you have a couple buddies over drinking. It'd be something to sit down and play through. It's not a very long game, so I mean, it's definitely something you can finish in an evening.
Oh wow! Okay.
Not only solo, but with several other people as well.
So I wasn't expecting it to be that short of a game, because when I hear Diablo, I'm thinking of going and getting my stats up in hundreds of hours and all that, but it's just a neat little package, huh?
It is, and the thing is that it's not like Diablo in the effect that you're not grabbing stats on gear, you're not leveling up gear. So what you do is you essentially roam this voxel art world, and you have these little chests that you collect, and it's either going to be a weapon, which has no stats, they're just base weapons, but each weapon has a different ability or attack mode when you're playing. Mm-hmm. So you're not really chasing stats. It's very basic in that effect. So
it's like if Contra were a Diablo dungeon crawler.
Not even. It's got kind of an isometric view, just like Diablo does. The chests are either going to reward you with, like I said, a weapon that pertains to that level or a skin.
Oh, okay.
So it's meant to be used for multiple playthroughs. It's not super in-depth. It's meant to be a hack and slash brawler, and you've got 9 total worlds and bosses to correlate with that. You can kind of choose which one to play at your choice.
Now, you said it's a game to get through in an evening. How many hours did it take you to run through it?
Maybe 2.5, almost 3.
Oh, wow. But it's one meant to go back. What's the incentive to go back and play through it multiple times? Just to experience it again? Or is there any...
You can play with multiple skins. It's something that every time you go through, I mean, you get... they have coins and gems that you can kind of collect through there, and you can kind of go in and play for like a high score. So you can go back and try to play and beat your previous high score and your times.
All right. Is this one you recommend?
The price point's a bit high for the amounts of gameplay, I think. It was definitely fun. It's very casual. It's very easy to get into, but I don't necessarily think that the price point is on point. I would wait for a sale, perhaps.
Okay. Still sounds kind of fun. I might want to check it out next time I'm around your Switch, because that's where you played it, right?
If you're looking for something to play for a couple hours and have some buddies over, it'd probably be a great game to play.
All right, sounds good, man. Well, I'll let you get back to editing. I appreciate you taking the time to stop by, man.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Any other games you're catching up on before we get out of here? Yes, no, maybe so?
I beat Pokemon Shield.
Did you?
Yeah. It was
Did
good.
you collect them all, or did you just beat it?
I beat the main story. I have not collected them all, and with the DLC coming now, I have a feeling I'm going to have to.
All right.
So
I am still working my way through Children of Morta, my number one game of the year. That game just continues to give and give and give. I love it.
On a cold and snowy day in Missouri, I booted up the cold and snowy Arkham Origins, and that game's pretty cool still.
Yeah,
Roger
it
Craig
is.
Smith, hell of a Batman, man. He's so like angry. I don't know. He's really good at it. I remember I told him on the show he's my favorite Batman when he came on.
Nice.
But it's just he's being underutilized as Bruce Wayne.
Gotcha. All right, well, that is going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Zach, thanks so much for being here, man. Any parting words or recommendations before we head out of here?
Oh my gosh. Smirk, my writing and moralizing podcast, is back. I'm too tired to do a sales pitch right now, so look up Smirk on iTunes.
All right,
or your
CB, what about
podcast
you?
app of choice.
For those of you that follow my Twitter, there's actually going to be a posting here in the next couple days of a really big title that I nailed. So keep your eyes peeled on that one.
The game sucks, but it's a really rare title.
Yeah, it really does suck.
Also, as mentioned on every show, I do the Packers Fan Podcast, where we talk about what else the Green Bay Packers. If you are a football fan or a Packers fan, please check out. We just recorded tonight our 200th episode, which I feel a little guilty saying that because I've only done about 17 or 18 episodes myself. But Wayne's been doing this podcast for 200 episodes strong, and we actually got together with a couple former hosts of the show who I replaced after they stepped down. So that was a lot of fun. We had the four of us talking about the Packers, who, by the way, are on their way to the NFC Championship this weekend. Looking very forward to it. But thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. My name is Scott Clark. I'm with Zach Parkerson and Chris Berensmeyer, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.